may not happen as much as it once did, but wrestling by hook or by crook will always find a way to work its way into the mainstream. The likes of Steve Austin and Hulk Hogan did this better than most, but the idea of sports entertainment has been a fixture in so many people's lives, even if only for a few years, that TV producers often think the greatest idea ever is to work it into their own storylines. Sometimes that's true, and sometimes it's just weird. It's the latter which is more interesting though, and with that in mind, I'm Simon from What Culture. Remember to hit that subscribe button, and this is 10 Weird Times TV Shows and Wrestling Storylines. Number 10, South Park. One of the best TV shows ever. There's nothing South Park hasn't covered, which is ironic because they've done an episode taking the mick out of The Simpsons for being a show that's covered everything. It's like some kind of bizarre paradox. It's the same with wrestling, where Trey Parker and Matt Stone decided to take shots at both the professional and amateur offerings, just to remind you don't have to pick sides. After Carl, Stan, Kenny and Cartman have had their first taste of WWE though, they try out for the school wrestling team, only to realise these two things are not the same. There's a few too many gay jokes as South Park embraces its immature side, but as soon as the boys have figured out the difference and started their own promotion, which is all about absurd stories and daft plot lines, sports entertainment is front and center. It probably could have been being a bit more nuanced, which usually the series is very good at, but given Tony Khan was inspired to set up an AEW venue based on how this episode looked, well, it certainly made an impact, pun intended. Number 9, The Simpsons. This was always going to be here for reasons already stated, and bizarrely also decides to pitch wrestling as tying into somebody's sexuality. Not sure if this is just a common misconception across the pond, but be you gay, straight, bisexual, or whatever, you should be allowed to wrestle without feeling like you've done something wrong. It's very odd. In Gorgeous Grandpa, though, Homer Simpson discovers Dad Abe's old wrestling gear in the attic, and before questioning him directly what this is all about, decides he must be a closet homosexual. Once again, you can both do and enjoy the sport of kings, whether you are gay or whether you are not, both are fine. After confronting him, it is revealed he actually used to be Glamorous Godfrey, a gorgeous George homage who left the industry after finding himself despised by the wrestling community for his flamboyant character. It forced him to quit until now. After Mr. Burns discovers all of this, he admits that Grandpa Simpson was his favourite wrestler, sparking a return to the ring for Abe, where he still finds the crowd hasn't evolved. The twist is Bart also gets involved and worries his parents when he adopts his granddad's effeminate ways, and I tell you, there was a better story to tell here about just how stupid wrestling can be. Unfortunately, this wasn't it. Number 8, Boy Meets World. This is the most 90s thing ever. Boy Meets World was a fixture for many growing up during this period, mostly because it's just so damn easy to watch, and of course it's got Topanga. Corey Matthews experienced the same problems we all did, although his would always escalate so damn fast. Case in point right here. After joining the wrestling team and finding he's actually quite good at it, Corey lets it go to his head and even joins up with the school jocks. He takes it well too far and actually roughs up another student, and it seems like he's lost to us all. Thankfully, he had Mr. Feedy. Headmaster and problem solver extraordinaire, he somehow organizes a proper match between all parties, which then goes nuts as Corey's opponent turns out to be the one and only Big Van Vader. Thankfully, Corey doesn't get killed by the Mastodon and a Vader bomb, and it all ends with everybody super happy when they realize the error of their ways. Vader is even portrayed as a gentle giant who wouldn't say boo to a goose. This was great back in the day if you were both a wrestling fan and of the show itself. Today, kind of baffling. Number 7, Futurama. Taking shots at as many things as it could, Futurama put together the episode Raging Bender, get it, that saw the robot accidentally stumble his way into ultimate robot fighting. Problem for him is that nobody has smartened him up to the fact the whole thing is a fix, leaving Bender with quite the quandary on his metal hands. Decided to go along with the work, he still lets success go to his head, much to the chagrin of his friends and fellow wrestlers. There is some great jokes here though, aimed at how stupid wrestling is, including one bad guy known as the Foreigner, who shouts out lines like, "I am not from here," and "I have my own customs." It's that kind of satire you want. It's true, everybody does it. As always, Bender soon realizes he's been an idiot and leaves the ring behind to do whatever was written to happen in the show next week. So it is weird, but also done far better than other programs we've mentioned so far. it gets the balance right. Number 6, That 70s Show. That 70s Show was actually pretty good. A teen comedy with actors who were able to raise it a level above all that. Everybody involved saw how much wrestling was booming in the late 90s, so they ensured to get a piece of the pie. Following Dad Red and son Eric, who finally bond thanks to their mutual love of the squared circle, this level of respect is held up throughout, probably because The Rock and Ken Shamrock had been drafted in as guest stars. You gonna insult their profession when they're on set? No, you're not. The People's Champ also plays his own dad in a nice nod to the past, and of course this is one of those appearances which surely alerted Hollywood to what they had here. Shamrock also has amazing 70s sideburns, not too dissimilar to what he has now in Impact, so I guess he must have gone back and watched it. The whole idea is that wrestling can bring people together, and that's just nice. More of this. Number 5, Zeke and Luther. The most Disney show ever, Zeke and Luther comes from the entertainment giant and features two friends who just want to be the best skateboarders ever. From here though, it is nuts, as the pair meet a fellow boarder called Mitch who can't live his Ollieing dreams due to his day job. They convince him to quit, which is advice adults shouldn't follow from kids, and it backfires massively when they realize that Mitch was actually their favorite wrestler, the Death Ripper. John Moxley now needs a new name. Somehow Luther then takes his spot, and yes, I know it's dumb, and when backstage at one event, he bumps into a two-eyed Rey Mysterio who wishes him luck. Rey also talks about how upset he is because he just lost a match to Raw Dog. This whole episode feels like a fever dream. Number 4, Married with Children. I never really watched Married with Children as it was hard to see in the UK, but from what I can gather it was about a husband and wife couple where they would throw stereotypes at one another and then a toilet would flush. Okay. As it turned out, however, the writers were huge fans of wrestling, hence why the main family was named after King Kong Bundy and their neighbors after Dusty Rhodes. So something was always gonna happen. After son Bud sneaks backstage into a wrestling show, dressed like a bumblebee, someone decides he must be part of the live event, so throws him out into the ring. That kinda sounds implausible, but something like that did happen on ECW, so there you go. This is just ready to see Bud get his ass kicked and lose a tooth. But Married with Children made sure the joke is on the family rather than the fans, so there is a level of respect here, and a good life lesson. If you wanna perform on a big wrestling show but you've never wrestled in your life, just dress up like a bee. Number 3, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. You want to know what happens to Sabrina in this episode? She wrestles Billy Gunn. Yep, because why the hell not? The story is proper bonkers too, and I'll probably get it wrong. But it happens because a cat's daughter is getting married, and the father of the bride must battle the father of the groom to earn that right. There is some red tape, however, so Billy Gunn steps in instead. Sabrina and Billy then do kick each other's bums for a while, including the witch using magic, which has to be a DQ surely. Unless it was in WWE. This is like watching something after you've injected drugs into your face, and yet still makes more sense than some Raw stories. And that's only half a joke. Number 2, Baywatch. As already stated, there was just a time in this life where if you were a popular mainstream TV show, wrestling would be worked in. It was even the same with Baywatch, where Pamela Anderson saved Hulk Hogan from drowning. And then for some reason the Hulkster decides to hang around because he doesn't want the Venice Beach Boys Center to close. Some asshole is threatening to do it, and amazingly, that asshole is Ric Flair. Don't overthink it. To see what the fate of the club will be, Flair and Hogan decide to engage in a no-holds-barred battle when Vader turns up and just squishes a basketball. All this is true. It is easy to watch though, as no one here is taking this seriously, and again, if you enjoy seeing your favorite wrestling stars do crossovers, this is still fun today. Stupid, but fun. Number 1, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Dennis Reynolds proclaims during this episode that wrestling is fake, but it's also awesome. So right away, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia has won everybody over. It also makes sure the main cast of the punchline constantly, which is a recurring theme of the show, as they decide to enter the ring to revisit their youth and then get their asses handed to them quite easily. This is even better, as they presumed the whole thing would be a piece of cake. Wrestling as the Birds of War, complete with wind costumes that are truly awful, they walk to the ring to cricket, and both the story here and physical comedy are on point. And if you've never seen the program before, the gang as they're known are just the worst humans on the planet, and because of that this always gets really dark really quickly. So another win for the series, which continues to go strong. If you've never partaken and you're not easily offended, I would suggest changing that today. Know of any other weird times TV shows had wrestling storylines? Make sure you let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Then head over to whatculture.com and read yourself some articles. Follow What Culture on Twitter at WhatCultureWWE, and watch more videos here on What Culture Wrestling. My name is Simon from What Culture. Thanks so much for tuning in, and I'll talk to you again soon.